Hi, this is Regina Y. Favors with Homeless Recovery Tips. And so I want to talk about the topic of homelessness as being a choice, that it is actually a choice. And it's kind of a difficult topic to discuss and offer as an argument because a lot of times when we come on under the understanding that when we become homeless, it is due to some life change. Maybe we lost our job. Maybe we suffered through a flood, maybe natural disaster, maybe the house burned down. Um, there are different contributing sort of status quo factors that may contribute to you becoming homeless. But there is a difference between homeless and homelessness. Homeless is maybe momentary, temporary, emergency based, maybe somewhat for a period of time, could be a season. Homelessness is more episodic. Uh, it seems like every time you get yourself together and you try to stay in housing or stay in a shelter for a minute, you find some way to sabotage it, right? So, for instance, I've talked about this in a previous audio about the reading an article in, I think, The Guardian about a person being homeless for 25 years. That is considered homelessness rather than homeless, because that person has turned himself over into a belief system that homelessness is the better option. It is the better opportunity. It is the better uh, place in life that he can live in and deal with and learn from, rather than transitioning himself out of homelessness into a home so that he isn't homeless. And so homelessness then is more about a condition, a state of mind, a condition. Um, it is you living in perpetual setback and not resolving any issues dealing with your setback. So if your setback is, say you lost your job, right? And you've been out of work for a good number of years, maybe due to a financial recession. That was the case with me. And even though I was applying for different jobs, it was hard to get those jobs. And so I ended up trying to tap into one of my talents, which is writing. And so I pursued some freelance opportunities to just bring in some kind of change. But I knew that I was not going to stay where I was, and that's why I had to come up with strategies, different types of strategies. And so, if you're not tapping into your gifts and talents, and you're not tapping into the resources around you, it's the idea of you standing with a sign saying we'll work for food when you got tons of places around you, jobs that you can actually go apply for, that you can put in an application for. Yes, you do need an address. You do need something. You do need ID information, things like that. Well, that's where the homeless shelter comes in. What happens though is that people don't want to stay in a homeless shelter because it requires you to obey rules. Well, whenever you are homeless and you are living in someone else's home or homeless shelter or whatever, you are subject to their authority. And people remain homeless, meaning that it is a choice because they don't want to respect authority. They can't get it in their mind that the current situation that they're in is a temporary one, and all they have to do is put one foot in front of the other, do what the shelter tells them to do, or do what the person whose house it is tells them to do, and then plan their transition out of that situation. You can put up with anything for I don't know how long, but you can put up with something for a good minute if you have a plan. But if you don't have a plan, then it makes sense that every little thing that the shelter or the person or whomever tells you is going to be offensive. It's going to bother you. It's going to make you not want to continue on and leave and up and leave. Homelessness as a choice then uh, is is an example of somebody leaving from one thing and not sticking with it. not taking it step by step, not understanding that everything has its process, no matter what you do. You and the process of moving about is a process too, but you're not getting anywhere. It's the hamster on the hamster's wheel. You're going everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And so you have the homelessness as a choice because you don't respect authority. And then you have homelessness as a choice because you keep moving from place to place and you won't get somewhere and settle down, sit down, plan your way out of the setback. Because all it is a perpetual setback. And setbacks without resolution will lead to burnout. So to the point that you've been homeless for so long and you let it go on for so long that you don't have any will or fight to get out of it, to move out of it, and go on to greater life battles, but in a home. The person who was homeless for 25 years went on like that for a good long time. Now I haven't reread the article in a while, but I'm assuming that if he no longer wanted to be homeless, it was because maybe age, maybe he got tired of himself, he just couldn't do it anymore. Whatever the reasoning is he bears that responsibility, and that is based upon what he thinks, but he's no longer homeless. So something in him must have said, I can't do this anymore. You can apply that concept to like being in a toxic relationship, romantic relationship, and this going back and forth with your partner, whoever that is, going back and forth, and it seems like you just keep repeating the exact same cycle. You fight, you make up, you break up, you fight, you make up, you break up, you do, and it's just a cycle that just seems like it has no end. And everything has an end. Now the end could lead to you exiting that relationship and entering a state of healing, solitude, um, planning, doing better in life, etc. Or it could end in some sort of tragic event leading to death. And I've always said that death is the antithesis to recovery. Um, so the 25-year homeless person was able to exit homelessness and enter a state of recovery. Now, whatever he didn't get or do while prior to homelessness and then during homelessness, it's going to catch up to him. And so he's still going to have to work through the processes. Now, some things may have ended and you don't have to return, you don't have to repeat, right? Sometimes, like in school academics, sometimes there are classes that you have to uh, retake because they may be core classes and you have to have them in order to graduate. And then there are some courses that may give you a pass or fail. And then there are some activities that may function like a course that you get credit for. So some life experiences while he was homeless for 25 years might be enough for him to have credit for, and he don't have to repeat. But if there's anything that he decided not to respect the authority of, there was some sort of instruction in his life, and he decided not to respect that authority, rest assured, down the road, that opportunity to retake that test, relearn that lesson is down the road. Because if it's one of those situations where you're supposed to learn better finances or learn how to set boundaries with people so that you don't volunteer too much of your time and people don't take control of your finances. If you didn't learn that, and that was maybe one of the precipitating factors that led to you becoming homeless, that lesson is down the road because it's a life lesson that everyone needs to understand. You have to set boundaries. You have to set standards. You have to set expectations. You cannot live your life volunteering your time and your finances. That's one of another reason why homelessness could be a choice, because you are volunteering too much of your life, your mind, your body, and your finances to the point that you would rather ride or die for that person and run and eventually become homeless than to ride or die for yourself to make sure that you are secured financially. So homelessness is a choice in a sense that you have an issue with authority, you have an issue with hastiness, and you have an issue with volunteering. And the resolution to that would be to set standards, boundaries, and expectations with yourself, You should have a core values list, right? You should have values of your own. You should not look externally for guidance from other people. You should not, if you struggle with people pleasing, that is something that you need to resolve. Because how many times have people been in cars where they didn't know that their friend was going to go into a store and rob the store, and then hop back in the car and expect you to drive off? Part of that is you people pleasing. Even though you said you didn't want to go with them to go to the store, you wanted to stay home, they bullied you, or they pushed you, or they pulled on you emotionally, and you gave in. And then you giving in uh, you led to them not telling you the full story of why they were going to the store. And then you got caught up, and you can't tell the judge, well, I didn't know what they were going to do, because the friends have already cut a deal. And so you're going to do most of the time. So homelessness is a choice, has many different factors. I'm not talking about homelessness. I'm not talking about the people who are suffering through a natural disaster, the people who have lost jobs and ended up being evicted and having their house foreclosed. I'm not talking about any sort of life event that contributed to them becoming homeless. Homeless is more temporary, uh, emergency based. Um, and you may end up having to move into a motel, things like that, right? But homelessness is a belief system that no matter, there are opportunities available to you to sort of repair and resolve and rebuild your life, but you just refuse because you have a problem with authority, or you have a problem with moving from thing to thing. You won't get somewhere and sit down so that you can actually learn something, or you just struggle with volunteering, people pleasing, um, not doing what you need to do to secure yourself. Homelessness can be a mindset, a thinking, a way of life that you literally prefer to be homeless perpetually, long term, than to actually get into a house and live in a house as an adult and pay for yourself as an adult by paying rent, paying utilities, paying food, doing what you need to do as an adult. So this is homeless recovery tips. Homelessness is a choice.